Young Americans' approval of Biden's soars after student debt cancellation. Philadelphia braces for possibility of migrant buses from Texas. Faces of Islam exhibit highlights diversity of Texas Muslims. King Charles III, a friend of British Muslims, as head of Muslim Council of Britain. Indian court upholds Hindus' petition seeking control of ancient Gyanvapi Mosque. Palestinian companies get Best Exhibition Award in Malaysia. From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. President Joe Biden has gained popularity among young Americans after unveiling his student debt cancellation plan for federal borrowers last month. New polling showed Biden's approval rating among younger American adults has jumped by double digits, political observers noted. The polling was conducted last week by Technometrica Institute of Policy and Politics for Investors Business Daily. It revealed that adults ages 18 to 44 now approve of Biden's handling of the presidency by a 51 to 40% margin. Biden's net approval swung upward to 11 points among younger Americans, reversing a net disapproval of 11 points in August. A Texas woman is accused of leaving threatening messages on the voicemail of a federal judge overseeing former President Donald Trump's legal case in Florida. Tiffany Shea Gish of Houston left 3 voicemails for Eileen Cannon. Cannon is a federal judge in the Southern District of Florida. She was nominated by Trump in 2020, court documents show. Cannon is handling Trump's request for a special master to review documents and other items the FBI seized from his Mar-a-Lago estate last month. Gish threatened to have Cannon assassinated in front of her family for helping the former president, court documents show. Federal officials have seen an unprecedented increase in threats since the search at Mar-a-Lago last month, CNN reports. In related news, U.S. election officials nationwide are facing a coordinated effort to overwhelm their offices, observers say. As election authorities begin mailing out absentee ballots and preparing for the midterms in November, a deluge of requests is hitting their offices, critics say. They claim these disruptive efforts are led by prominent supporters of former President Donald Trump. The Washington Post reported Sunday that election workers in Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and other states have been fielding requests for documents related to the 2020 election. Trump continues to claim the election was fraudulently won by President Joe Biden. Many counties have published electronic images of all ballots cast in 2020. Yet, election offices are receiving demands for documents, including poll books, spoiled ballots, remade ballots, voter registration applications, and cast vote records. Philadelphia is preparing to receive busloads of migrants. This is in anticipation of Texas Governor Greg Abbott targeting the city as their next destination. Axios reports that it is part of Abbott's efforts to bring the border crisis to Democratic mayors' doorsteps. Kevin Lassard is spokesman for Philadelphia's Democratic Mayor Jim Kenney. He told Axios that city officials are taking an inventory of existing resources for the migrants' possible arrival. There has been no confirmation that migrants from Texas will be headed to Philadelphia, but the city is not anticipating any advance notice for it. More than 7,600 migrants have already been bused from Texas to Washington, D.C. since April. Abbott began sending buses of migrants to New York City early last month and to Chicago at the end of August. A new art exhibit in San Antonio seeks to challenge standard notions of who is a Muslim and what the faith means to practitioners. Faces of Islam features portrait photos highlighting the diversity of Muslims in Texas. The exhibit debuted Saturday at the Dock Space Gallery. Photographer Ramin Samandari told Fox 26 the project began during a period of heightened Islamophobia after the 2016 presidential election. It stemmed from a rise in anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant rhetoric from former President Donald Trump and other political leaders. Samandari produced a series of similar works preceding this latest exhibit. One such series on immigration was funded and is housed permanently at the Institute of Texan Culture. 2 people have been charged after a break-in and vandalism at the St. Cloud Islamic Center in Minnesota. According to the criminal complaint, an employee arrived at the center just before 4 a.m. September 8th to find the front window broken. The The employee noticed beer cans and cigarette butts strewn on the floor and ceiling tiles that had been damaged. Officers found a leather chair had been slashed, paper strewn about, and a handle for turning on the water for washing feet was broken and on the ground. Police also found a piece of paper on a desk with LS written in what appeared to be blood. Within hours of the break-in, police captured 23-year-old Logan Smith of Rogers and 25-year-old Victoria Veliz of New Hope. Authorities tracked them down after finding a key card at the scene for a hotel in St. Cloud. A hotel front desk employee identified Smith and Veliz from photos from surveillance footage. Palestinian companies get Best Exhibition Award in Malaysia. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
We are Justice for All. Headquartered in the heart of downtown Chicago, Justice for All is a global humanitarian initiative dedicated to raising awareness for human rights concerns impacting vulnerable minority groups. Our diverse team of staff and volunteers, led by Imam Malik Mujahid, work tirelessly to help Justice for All achieve their goals. We promote policies that protect religious freedom, address the root causes of mass displacement, and recognize the plight of refugees and forced migrants. Together, we can continue to stand up for justice. Justice for all.
A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today.
I am what hunger looks like in America.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Billboards are popping up all over the country with an...
Our neighbors don't realize that Muslims are absolutely opposed to ISIS.
Salam. My name is Abdul Malik Mujahid. I'm an imam in Chicago.
16 shots! No peace! No justice! No peace!
So how do we bring up the energy which can really have an impact on the world? You need to build bridges of understanding among people, and we need to have America moving forward.
That lesson learned have brought the strength of humanity to America, which is the diversity.
Mujahid Talks, only on Muslim Network TV. Faithfully connected.
To stop this genocide, we need your help.
Welcome back. 2 Palestinian companies received the Best International Exhibition Award for their outstanding pavilion at the world's largest halal expo. This was at the 18th Malaysia International Halal Showcase in the capital, Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia's International Trade and Industry Ministry presented awards to 15 companies for outstanding performance in 4 categories. Al-Ard Palestinian Agri-Products Limited and Export Circles were awarded for their huge and attractive pavilions. Thailand's Department of International Trade Promotion also received the Best National Exhibition Award. An Indian court on Monday upheld a petition by a group of Hindus seeking to allow them to pray inside a historic 7th century mosque in the city of Varanasi. Gyanvapi Mosque has been at the center of an ongoing legal battle. The mosque is situated in the ancient city of Varanasi in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh. Many Hindus believe that it was built on the orders of Mughal ruler Aurangzeb by pulling down a part of a Hindu temple in the 17th century. Gyanvapi is the second medieval mosque site after the Babri Mosque in Ayodhya being claimed by Hindus. The Separatist Southern Transitional Council said Sunday its forces captured sites held by Al-Qaeda militants in Yemen's southern Abyan province. The move comes days after the group said it launched a military operation in Abyan to cleanse it from terrorist organizations. Military spokesman Muhammad al-Naqib said the council's forces seized control of Wadi al-Nasil and Mogan areas. They lie east of the provincial capital Zinjibar, where Al-Qaeda militants are believed to be hiding. On Tuesday, at least 22 soldiers from the government-aligned Security Belt forces were killed in an attack by Al-Qaeda militants in Abyan. Military headquarters in Abyan come under frequent attacks, usually attributed to Al-Qaeda. The International Union for Muslim Scholars has appointed Habib Salim Saqaf Al-Jafri as its new chairperson. Al-Jafri, who is from Indonesia, replaces Ahmad Raisuni. Raisuni resigned last month after controversy over statements he made about the disputed Western Sahara region. In an August 28 television interview, he said that Mauritania should be part of Morocco. His remarks drew fire from several Mauritanian groups amid calls for him to step down. The Qatar-based Scholars Union said Al-Jafri was picked to head the pan-Muslim organization until a new chairperson is elected in January. The 68-year-old has a doctorate in Islamic law and worked as a lecturer at the Islamic State University and the Sharif Hidayatullah University in the Indonesian capital, Jakarta. He also served as Minister of Social Affairs in his country. The head of Britain's largest Muslim umbrella organization called King Charles III a friend of British Muslim communities. In a letter addressed to the King expressing condolences over the death of Queen Elizabeth II, Zahra Muhammad, Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Britain, praised the Queen. She wrote that she was a constant and steady presence for 7 decades, unflinching in her dedication to public service. Muhammad added that the late Queen set the tone and tenor of modern Britain. She commended her for upholding the freedom to practice faith, welcoming those of all faiths and none. She also noted that King Charles has visited countless mosques and Islamic associations across the kingdom. Muhammad also said he has been an active patron of initiatives to empower young British Muslims. As Ukraine claims 6,000 square kilometers of its territory from Russia, some Russian politicians are calling for Russian President Vladimir Putin's resignation. Deputies from 18 municipal districts in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and Kolpino have called for Putin to step down. That is according to a petition posted on Twitter Monday. The Kremlin stressed Russia would achieve all the goals of the special military operation in Ukraine. Western governments are asking arms manufacturers to ramp up production and replenish stockpiles heavily diminished by Ukraine's 6-month-old battle against Russian invasion. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said senior national armaments directors from allied countries will meet this week. This will be to make long-term plans for supplying Ukraine and rebuilding arms reserves. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment, so stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help.
Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Rise up, I'm gonna make a difference. Rise up, take back what's mine. Give power to the people. Some dreams never die. Can I get a witness? You know that it's right. 'Cause we gotta rise up and teach the world to unite.
Welcome back. A psychology team of the University of Miami hopes to increase mental health care for Muslim Americans. One of the team members is joining Edward Ahmed Mitchell for a detailed conversation. Over to you, Edward.
Thank you, Samana. Now we move to a discussion of something very important that impacts all people, including American Muslims, and that is the issue of mental health. What are some of the mental health concerns that are impacting the American Muslim community? How are therapists, including Muslim therapists, addressing those concerns? And does the Muslim community make use of therapy? Should they make use of therapy? And what are the unique issues that Muslims might have to deal with while going through therapy? There is an organization now, a project that is dedicated to answering some of these questions, and we're happy to have a guest on to learn more about this important issue. I'd now like to bring on our special guest, Merranda McLaughlin, who is a pre-doctoral psychology trainee at the University of Miami, and she is contributing to the Muslim American Project, which you're going to learn about in just a moment, God willing. Merranda, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm so well. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So first, tell us a bit about yourself. You're a pre-doctoral trainee, so I believe that means you're a trainee to become a psychologist. Tell us a bit about yourself and the work that you do, and then we'll dive into the project itself.
Sure. I'm in training to become a clinical psychologist, and I'm in my 5th year and going to internships soon, inshallah. And I have been very interested over the course of my time in trying to adapt culturally integrated therapies for individuals who may not typically seek out therapy as a form of help. And so early on in my doctorate career, I decided to focus the large body of my work on Muslim Americans, and trying to, a lot of my work since then has been geared towards adapting the existing therapies by my mentor, Dr. Wiseman Damamani, for Muslims. Yeah.
Let's dive into this project itself, the Muslim American Project. Tell us about what the project is and how it came about.
Yeah, so the Muslim American Project was started by me and my fellow colleague Salman under the guidance of our mentor, Dr. Wiseman Damamani. It spans multiple projects. Some of these have already been completed, and we've published, and we're in the midst of sharing these results. All of these, if you don't mind me plugging, are on our website, map-um.com. We share all of our published research there. And our current ongoing study is a free remote group therapy for Muslims across the state of Florida. In addition, Salman is currently preparing an educational workshop for Muslims on their mental health.
Okay, excellent. So now the next question is, why? Why was this project established? What problem is it trying to address?
Well, I think the leaders on this team have many reasons, both personal and broad, for wanting to focus on Muslim mental health. I think the personal is because we all have friends and our family we deeply care about and have seen the struggle to obtain accessible Islamically integrated therapy. On a broad level, though, Muslims are simply not getting enough mental health support in the U.S. Finding a therapist for anyone is hard enough, but many non-Muslim therapists do not have experience integrating Islamic values into therapy, or how to navigate the many identities Muslims in the U.S. have. Our hope is that our study will be a stepping stone, so there'll be more accessible therapies for Muslims in the future.
So tell me this, what are some of, in your experience, based on your expertise, what are some of the common mental health challenges that American Muslims are facing, and what are the causes for those challenges? Are they unique, or are they kind of the same things that everyone deals with in America?
It's a great question. So, and I think it depends on what you mean. On one hand, Muslims experience the same difficulties that all people do when it comes to depression, anxiety, stress. Some people, when experiencing these things, they have ways of dealing with them through spirituality, healthy practices, family, and this works for them. They work through these moments. For others, it may feel like everything they try just isn't quite working. And so they really need additional support to find ways to manage these symptoms. However, Muslims face unique challenges, I would say, living in the United States. Some of this is probably very obvious, but Islamophobia and discrimination has been shown to be related to increased depressive symptoms in Muslims. In addition, there's a lot of stress when managing different cultural expectations, especially when those expectations seem to be in conflict.
So, why do you think American Muslims, well, let me put it this way. Do you think American Muslims use therapy at the same level as other faith or non-faith communities? And if not, what do you think the reason for that is?
So there is already evidence suggesting that Muslims do not engage in therapy to the same rate as other people in the United States. And there's a multitude of reasons for that. That's some of the questions we've been trying to answer. I think part of it is there's an issue with feeling like therapy is a westernized practice and not for Muslims. And I think part of our work here is trying to bridge that gap, trying to more readily integrate Islamic perspectives, values into the therapies that we're giving. And I think on the other end, there can be a lot of stigma. It is hard to admit that you're struggling. And so when individuals experience a lot of this stigma, they tend to not seek help out as much. Even as symptoms get more severe, they may choose to kind of keep it to themselves.
So speaking of that issue of stigma, let's say someone feels like they're going through a tough time, whatever it could be. It could be they've lost their job, family situation, they want to go to therapy. But as you said, in some cultures, there may be a stigma associated with it. So they may not want to go out to a therapist's office and maybe have to explain to people in their family where they're going. Virtual therapy sessions are now quite a thing, I'm told. Can that be as effective as an in-person session for people who want to kind of get this experience of an Islamically infused therapy session?
Right. I think the benefits of a virtual compared to an in-person session really depends on your goal. For us, our main goal right now is to improve accessibility. So virtual therapy is extremely helpful for that. It allows us to serve Muslims across Florida rather than focus solely on Miami. Also, clients are often limited not just by, you're saying, stigma or privacy, but also transportation. Maybe they're caregivers and they can't leave their house to be away from those that they're attending. Maybe they don't have time to commute. So they're going to benefit more from a virtual session they can attend than an in-person session they cannot. For our group therapy, our past work, not necessarily with Muslims, it's shown to be well received in a virtual format. There are certain types of therapy that may work better in person, just depending on the structure. And some people could better connect with those in person. So I think examining these preferences prior to starting is always really helpful.
Gotcha. Now, Merranda, let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier that, some Muslims have a perspective, look, psychology, this entire field is a Western creation and is not for us to use. But, my understanding is that, Muslims have long acknowledged the existence of mental illness, that even Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, acknowledged that people could be mentally insane, that yes, there is such thing as possession and supernatural forces, but there's also just people who, just like you have a broken leg, could have something that is harmed in your mind. So what do you say to Muslims who have that concern about, their Freud and things he said about religion and things of that nature, and are just turned off to psychology altogether? Had to convince those people, no, look, this is something you can do. There is a perfectly halal aspect to it, and this is something that can help you. What do you say to Muslims who have that concern?
Right. I think it would be really helpful if they are concerned about it to really ask the therapist they're interested in these types of questions, what their perspectives are. There's kind of two branches of and schools of thought that are going on right now. And folks who have concerns about this may benefit from what you're describing. We often call it Islamic psychology. And this is work done by Dr. Awad, who I believe has been on the show many times. Her and others have discussed this foundation of psychology within Islam and how Islamic principles can be used to understand psychology, kind of distinct and separate from these westernized versions. So I really encourage folks who may have some difficulty and really do need the support to actually ask directly to those that they may be interested in seeking therapy for what their perspectives are on integrating Islam into therapy and how they do it. Well, what are the actual ways in which they do this throughout the process? And I think that is often the best way to move forward, I think, asking the questions and having that communication.
Thank you. Now, last question for you. So, I think in a study that I read, quoted, I think from, it was maybe the University of Miami, but somewhere, that Muslim youth may have a higher rate of suicide attempts compared to other faith groups. And young people may be bearing the brunt of sort of this, the mental difficulties caused by experiencing and seeing and living with Islamophobia and race discrimination and other such things. So, what should families be doing, or parents be doing, if they have young people who are going through difficulty? Or it could just be the typical things that young people go through in this country. What advice would share with, not advice, what should Muslim parents be doing if they've got a kid, they, maybe not even in Florida, but they think they need some help, and they would like to get them help from someone who is, psychologically trained, but also, is going to have some sort of basic perspective that does not conflict with Islam. What should we be doing about our youth?
Yes, so I think there's a few things I would suggest. Just like on a person-to-person level, I think it's important to know that some of the risk factors for suicide are not feeling a sense of belongingness or feeling like you're a burden to others. And so I think the many ways we can use our cultural strengths to our benefit, helping our children feel like they belong, not expressing that they are a burden to us. And when they're expressing these symptoms, really honing in on the fact that they're under a lot of pain and really sitting with that. On a professional level, there are a lot of organizations out there doing this work. Right now, our lab, as part of our work, is trying to develop a better referral system in Florida. So if there are folks in Florida, feel free to reach out to us as we continue to develop this broader set of referrals of Muslim therapists. But there's others doing this work as well. Maristan, you can see them at maristan.org, have their own referral list of folks across the United States, Muslim therapists. They also have, they're doing work in California currently. Another place for families in particular, you may want to look into the Family and Youth Institute. Is another great program that is researching these topics, and they have toolkits also on their website that would be of benefit, as well as the Khalil Center is also delivering therapy in various places.
Well, Ms. McLaughlin, this has all been very, very helpful information and very educational, I think, for me and our viewers. And we pray that you have continued success in getting this program off the ground so that the American Muslim community can benefit from psychological assistance and treatment and therapy that has that Islamic ethos to it. So thank you so much, and please keep us updated on the program. We'd love to have you back in the future, God willing.
Thank you, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. And thank you all for watching. We're going to send it back to Samana.
Thank you. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.